I stepped outside, coffee in hand, ready to start my day, but my car was gone. Not parked down the street. Not misplaced. Gone. My heart pounded. Was it stolen? Then I saw it. A bright orange notice slapped onto my mailbox. Vehicle towed. HOA violation. My jaw clenched. Over a $50 fine? This was beyond ridiculous. But they had no idea what kind of mistake they just made. Because the tow company they called, it's mine. They thought they had the power. They thought I was just another helpless homeowner. They were dead wrong. Now, it was time to teach them a lesson they'd never forget. Stay with me, because what happens next? They never saw it coming. Living under my HOA felt like being in a dictatorship disguised as a neighborhood. They fined people for the smallest infractions. Mailboxes an inch too tall, grass slightly overgrown, or cars parked a little too long in the driveway. Everyone hated them, but no one fought back. I had paid my share of ridiculous fines, but this was personal. A $50 fine, one I wasn't even aware of, was enough for them to snatch my car from my own driveway. They thought I would just pay up and move on. They had no idea who they were messing with. Because the company they called to tow my car, it's mine. They thought they held all the power. But today, I was flipping the script. And by the time I was done, they'd be the ones begging for mercy. I took a deep breath, trying to control my rage as I dialed the HOA office. The phone rang twice before a monotone voice answered. Homeowners Association. How can we help you? Yeah, you can start by explaining why my car was illegally towed over a $50 fine I never even knew about. My voice was calm, but the storm brewing inside me was anything but. Sir, if your vehicle was removed, it was due to a violation. You can check your homeowner's agreement. The woman replied, uninterested, like she had delivered this excuse 100 times before. I did check. I shot back. And there's nothing in there about towing cars for unpaid fines under $100. Silence. Then, with an irritated sigh, she said, if you have a problem, you can take it up with the board. The call cut off. My blood boiled. They didn't even try to justify it. They knew this was a scam, just another money grab to keep homeowners in check. I wasn't about to let that slide. I started digging, talking to neighbors, listening to their horror stories. It didn't take long to realize I wasn't the first victim. Mr. Thompson, a retired veteran, had been fined $200 for excessive lawn decorations because of a single flag in his yard. The Johnsons, a young couple, had their car towed twice because it was parked on the street, despite no rule prohibiting it. One woman down the block got a $75 fine for having the wrong shade of beige on her front door. Everywhere I looked, people were living in fear of their own neighborhood. The HOA wasn't protecting the community. It was robbing it blind. And the worst part? The tow company they used had a direct deal with the HOA. They were running a scam, illegally towing cars, splitting the profits, and forcing people to pay to get their own vehicles back. This wasn't just about me anymore. This was war. And I had the perfect plan to bring them down. I wasn't going to sit around and let these HOA crooks get away with it. I pulled out my phone and called my tow yard. Get my car back. Now. No fees. Within 30 minutes, my car was back in my driveway, pristine, untouched, as if it had never been taken. I stood there, arms crossed, staring at it. The HOA thought they had the upper hand. They thought I'd be scrambling to pay their ridiculous ransom. But I had just proven them wrong. Now, it was time to flip the script. I needed to know who was behind this shady towing operation. It didn't take long. A few calls to some contacts, a little digging, and I had my answer, Evergrip Towing, a company with a terrible reputation, overcharging, illegal tows, fake violations, and somehow they had an exclusive contract with my HOA. It reeked of corruption. I dug deeper, and what I found made my blood run cold. Evergrip Towing wasn't just working with the HOA. They were profiting from it. The HOA would issue bogus fines, often without notifying homeowners. If a fine wasn't paid immediately, they would call Evergrip to tow the car. No warning, no due process. Evergrip would charge hundreds in towing fees, plus a daily storage fee that racked up fast. The only way to get your car back? Pay everything. No exceptions. Behind closed doors, Evergrip and the HOA were splitting the profits. I clenched my fists. This wasn't just unethical, it was illegal. They weren't enforcing neighborhood rules. They were running a racket. And now, I had the proof. I wasn't just going to expose them. I was going to destroy them. I had my car. I had the evidence. Now, all I needed was the perfect way to turn the tables. Because by the time I was done, the HOA and Evergrip Towing would be the ones begging for mercy. I had everything I needed. The proof, the power, and the perfect plan. It was time to hit them where it hurt. I started by compiling every shady transaction, every illegal tow, and every false fine issued by the HOA. I had records from multiple neighbors, receipts from Evergrip Towing, and evidence of their corrupt profit-sharing scheme. Then I made my move. I reached out to a friend in local law enforcement and handed over the entire case file. HOA boards were notorious for thinking they were untouchable, but once the right people had the right evidence, their empires started crumbling. Within days, investigators were all over Evergrip Towing. Their books were pulled, their shady contracts were exposed, and the state hit them with fines so massive they practically drowned in debt. Meanwhile, the HOA board, panic mode. It didn't take long before residents found out the truth. Once news spread about the corrupt tow scam, homeowners started demanding resignations. Angry neighbors showed up to the next HOA meeting, furious over the illegal tows. A petition circulated calling for the removal of the entire board. Some members resigned immediately, tried to escape the inevitable. But I wasn't done yet. With Evergrip dismantled, the HOA had a major problem. They still needed a tow company. And guess who just happened to own the best one in town? When the dust settled, my company was offered the contract. But this time, I was in control. I rewrote the entire towing policy. No more random tows, no shady fines, and no corruption. Homeowners would receive proper warnings, fair chances to appeal fines, and full transparency. And the HOA, they had no choice but to accept. Victory secured. What started as one unjust tow turned into a revolution against a corrupt system. I didn't just get my car back. I took their entire operation apart. And now, the only cars being towed in my neighborhood were the ones that actually deserved it. I had already crippled the HOA's towing scam, but I wasn't about to stop there. Exposing them publicly would be the final nail in their coffin. So, I did what any rightfully furious homeowner would do. I sent an email blast to every single resident in the neighborhood, blowing the lid off the HOA's corruption. Subject: your HOA has been stealing from you. Here's the proof. I laid it all out. The fake fines, the illegal tows, the secret profit-sharing scheme between the HOA and Evergrip Towing. I attached the proof, emails, invoices, and official complaints from scammed homeowners. The response? Explosive. Within hours, my inbox overflowed with replies. They fined me last year for nothing. I knew it was a scam. I paid over $500 to get my car back. I want my money returned. We need to get rid of these people now. I had just lit a fire under the entire neighborhood. It didn't take long before the local news stations got wind of it. HOA corruption, illegal tows, homeowners being scammed out of their money. It was a perfect storm for a viral scandal. A well-known local journalist reached out, asking for an interview. I happily obliged. The segment aired that same evening, and it was brutal. Reporters cornered the HOA board president, shoving microphones in his face, demanding answers. Homeowners flooded the next HOA meeting, furious, demanding resignations and refunds. The HOA social media was flooded with angry comments, exposing their corruption for the entire city to see. Within days, the fallout was undeniable. Several board members resigned in disgrace. The remaining ones scrambled to save face, promising policy changes. Homeowners began pushing for a full vote to replace the board entirely. The once feared HOA had lost all credibility. And the best part? I wasn't done yet. Because while the HOA was desperately trying to clean up its mess, I was about to deliver the final blow. The pressure was too much. The HOA board cracked under the weight of their own corruption. Faced with legal threats, public outrage, and a mass homeowner revolt, they had no choice but to refund every unfairly towed car. One by one, board members resigned, trying to escape the mess they created. But there was nowhere to run. Their scam was exposed, their reputation destroyed, and their power gone. And me? I took their throne. With the board in chaos, homeowners voted for new leadership, and I made sure towing policies were rewritten the right way. No more unfair fines. No more scams. No more fear. If you're going to exploit people for profit, make sure the person you target doesn't own the entire game. Because when you mess with the wrong person, you lose everything.